Good morning, Twin Cities. Yes, we are talking about money today.
Yes, money, housing, nonprofits,
Yes.
all that kind of stuff. So, good morning, good Sunday morning. I'm Stephanie Havel with Wells Fargo Home Mortgage, filling in for. Excuse me.
What's his name again?
I choked when
I
I
don't
said
remember
his
who
name.
he is anymore because he's always not here. No, I'm just kidding.
Stephanie Havel with Wells Fargo, filling in for Jason Stockwell. Yeah.
And I'm Dawn Eldridge with RE/MAX Results here for myself. And we also have Ed Nelson with the Minnesota Home Ownership Center. Ed, I have a question.
Sure.
You may have already answered it, but we are in a new segment again. So is there a fee for people when they come in to seek help with the Minnesota Home Ownership Center?
That's a fantastic question. Thanks. For the vast majority of the services that we offer, that one-on-one counseling, that help building credit, that help finding down payment resources, or basically just to answer a few questions in a non-biased, nonprofit environment, all of those services are free, or the vast majority of them are free. There is a small fee to take the course or the workshop known as Homestretch. It's a requirement on some of the mortgage products that are out there, or for down payment assistance products.
Yep.
Or if they take it online through Framework Homeownership, there's a fee for that as well. But the fee is fairly modest with the amount of information that you get, and then all of the other help, assistance, information, basically just that little bit of hand-holding that you might need to be successful at homeownership, that is free for the vast majority of the consumers. And that is because we get funding from organizations like Wells Fargo and others. We're a HUD-approved intermediary in the state of Minnesota, and so we get funding from HUD and other nonprofit intermediary organizations.
Well, and that Frameworks is a great class. Actually, Wells Fargo has our program, our Your First Mortgage.
Yes.
And if a consumer were to take the Frameworks class, which we highly encourage them to do, they can get $750 off towards their closing costs through Wells Fargo. It's an exclusive program we have. We're the only ones that have it. If you don't want to take the class, then fine. We don't offer the discount. It's just...
Is there credit or income restrictions for that class?
No,
Is it open to everybody?
Nope, it's open to everybody.
Wow.
So,
And Homestretch, there's no
great.
income minimums or maximums. You know,
Wow.
you could be making $5 million a year and just want to know more about the process. This doesn't train you to be a real estate agent. This doesn't
Right.
train you, but it does give you all the information you need to know what decisions to make throughout the whole process.
Right.
And we love the fact that organizations like Wells Fargo are understanding that education is important, that
Right.
buyers need to know what they're doing going into this. So there are others that have reduction in interest rates, you know, 1/8 of a point off or so, if they take the online Framework course or if they take Homestretch. But even if there were no other benefit for it, just the knowledge that you'll get, 99.9, and this is not a statistic I'm pulling out of my ear, out of my hair. That
your hair, your head.
Lots of that.
There wouldn't be much to pull at.
No, there would not be. We know for a fact that the people who take Framework and Homestretch always appreciate the fact that they took the class, love the fact that they took it, and their number one complaint about the class is they wish they had known about it earlier.
Sooner,
Yeah.
right?
I've taken clients out that have been through the classes, and it's awesome to work with buyers that have been through it. I've also taken some buyers out that have done the Homestretch, and it really, really helps put especially first-time home owners at ease.
Fantastic.
Because it is a daunting task. And, you know,
Right.
we do our best as agents to
Yeah.
prepare them. Some of the things we don't even know what may go on with the lender side because that always
Well, and there's
sticks
so
with the
much
lender side. So I
misinformation
think it
out
helps.
there in
Exactly
the
right.
media
Yeah.
and the internet.
I
and it's
heard on
not-
the internet that
Yeah,
I read this
And
blog
it's not
post
the
that
same when your brother,
No.
your sister,
Yes.
your mom, or dad bought their house. And that's
Google.
where, you know, even
No
us
bueno.
as Wells Fargo employees, if we're buying a home and we're using our Your First Mortgage program, we also can take advantage of that benefit. And we had a branch manager who's been in the mortgage industry for 20 years. He was like, well, of course I want that, you know, $750 benefit. And so took the class, and he was, you know, like, okay, I've done mortgage. I know. He was like, I can just click right through the test, everything like that. And he said he was surprised. There was a lot of information that he learned, things that he just kind of assumed he knew, but there was, you know, maybe some bits and pieces that he wasn't really clear on. And so somebody 20 years mortgage experience still got benefit from the Frameworks home ownership class. He's owned 3 different homes in his lifetime.
I want a copy of this so that I can use that on my website there, Stephanie. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Can
There's so
anybody
much
do the
misinformation.
framework then?
Yep, anyone can
Anybody.
take Framework online
Okay.
or Homestretch in person. There's no income minimums or maximums. There's, you know,
Okay.
we don't check your credit ahead of time. Even if you're thinking, you know what, I might want to buy a home in the fall or maybe next spring, it's never too early to start learning about the process.
So I can tell all my first-time home buyers, you should take this course.
I would love you to say
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
You
I'm
and
gonna
every other
start.
agent
I
that's listening
will.
today.
And we
Yes.
accept that
I will
certificate
start.
up for 1 year. It's
Yep.
good for 1 year. So if you start the pre-approval process and then you take the class and then, maybe your credit isn't there or the assets or the income or for whatever reason, and maybe you've got to wait a couple months, we don't require you. We can use that framework certificate up for a full year. And I don't know, I can't speak for other lenders. I think we're probably
That's fairly
all,
industry
I was
standard
going
at
to
this
say it's
point.
probably
Fairly
pretty much the
close.
same, for 12 months. So
Wow.
yeah, absolutely. Why not get the education, and especially the frameworks one. I know Homestretch is more of a 8-hour class or a couple days during the
Mm-hmm.
week. Frameworks, it's online. You can start and stop at any time, right? So you can
Yep.
go at your own pace.
It's
Read the information. It's great.
designed for mobile
Yeah,
devices
and it's great
as well.
for
You can
couples.
take
Wow.
If you were
exactly.
a young
Yep.
couple buying a house, I just was watching something on Care 11, I think, last night, and they were talking about, some of the arguments between newlyweds. And a lot of it is finances, and they said sometimes they don't even talk about it. So if you are a young couple, and thinking about buying your first home, or even if a young individual, people are starting to think about buying investment properties, or parents want to buy investment properties for the kids that are going to college. So instead of paying rent to somebody else, maybe they want to buy a home for their kids to rent. So it really is really useful information for anybody. And if you're a couple, what a great way to learn about education together. You can do it online in the privacy of your own home, your own time, and everything.
Start and stop whenever you like. Do it on the bus, on the ride into work, however you want to do that. There's so much misinformation out there about, oh, yeah, no, I heard my third cousin twice removed told me that this is what happened when he bought his house, or this, I need 20% down because the market is so tight and the banks aren't lending to anyone. That's just, none of that is true. And so the more information someone has, the smoother the entire transaction goes
Yes.
for you as professionals, but also smoother it goes for the buyer, especially low to moderate income buyers who are already facing lots and lots of barriers into homeownership anyway. The market is extremely tight right now on the lower end of the affordability spectrum, and other barriers, credit and income and things like that. Let's get one or two or three or all of the barriers out of the way up front, and the entire transaction just goes much more smoothly for everyone involved.
So for the framework online program, do they go through the Minnesota Home Ownership Center website to get there, or is it a separate website on its own? How can people access that?
There is a separate website for that. Our website at the Minnesota Home Ownership Center is hocmn.org. We made that as cryptic as we could. It's Home Ownership Center Minnesota, hocmn.org. And Framework has its own page as well. It's frameworkhomeownership.org. But in some cases, people might say, well, I want to learn, but I'm not sure where my credit is, or I just, I don't even know where to start. You can start by working with one of the nonprofit, we call them homeownership advisors or housing counselors, just to sit down and say, look, we're going to give some orientation on where you should be heading. Maybe it is the right time for you to start education right away. Or maybe, they take a quick look at your credit and that number is a little too low to get you into homeownership today. They may want to work with you, put a plan in place, get an action plan together on getting you into homeownership, and then take education a little further down the road. We're here to help. There's, once again, there's no fee for any of that counseling work. So just, give a phone call and say, or visit our website, hocmn.org, and say, I'm thinking I might want to be a homeowner. What should I do? And we'll get you to the right place.
Well, and I think we can
cool.
too. We can post that information on the Facebook page, the Stockwell Eldridge page.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah,
Along with the
we
videos,
will.
we'll get those. And then also, if you talk to any mortgage consultant at Wells Fargo, we also have those links for frameworks, as well as some of our own resources as well. We've got a My First Home video, which is great. Again, it's interactive, and it's just, so maybe some people, don't want to read. Maybe they want to listen and watch videos. It's really great little interactive videos as well. But I think, we always talk about, and, I was always what I'd always say, knowledge is power, knowledge is power. But I think I forget somebody else. It's, knowledge is power, but if you don't put it to use, it's not any powerful, So you
Right.
could take all these, but if you, just kind of think, okay, yeah, it's out there, whatever. But if you don't really soak it in and take it and spread the word, like you said, tell other clients,
Yeah.
people,
I will be.
information
Yep.
at open houses. And if you're listening, again, the Home Ownership Center, even at wellsfargo.com or stephaniehavel.com, you can get that information as well.
Yeah. Ed, what is your phone number for people to call?
Sure. It's 651-659-9336. Or you can use our toll-free number, 866-HOC HOCMINN. So Homeownership Center, HOCMINN, 866. It's toll free anywhere in the state. And I do appreciate you letting me share all that, because there are on the lower end of the spectrum, or people who are facing barriers to home ownership, communities of color that are underrepresented in home ownership. We know for a fact that homebuyer education works. That means that people make the right choices. They're more stable in their home ownership. They're more likely to remain in home ownership, as well as the fact that we know that homeownership is the number one driver of wealth for African American families in the country and for immigrant populations in the country. And so we want to make sure that people are getting access to this, to this American dream, and putting down roots and becoming parts of the community. I can, you guys live and breathe this thing called homeownership every single day.
Right.
I don't need to share that with you. We know that children of homeowners do better in school. We know that homeowners have better health outcomes. There is a value to home ownership, and we want to make sure that all of our populations in our communities of color, no matter what their income is, making minimum wage or making $10 million a year, that they can be preparing for long-term successful home ownership.
Well,
at minimum wage, they may not be able to step into home ownership today, but we want to get them ready for it in the future.
And I'm
Right.
glad you brought that up, that statistic. So in the next segment, we'll talk about Wells Fargo's Get Lifted.
And it's not a facelift.
No.
It might be a financial lift. There we go.
Yeah, Get Lifted. And we'll talk more about that in the next segment. So thanks, Ed Nelson with the Minnesota Homeownership Center. I'm Stephanie Havel with Wells Fargo Home Mortgage.
And I am Dawn Eldridge with RE/MAX Results.
Look at that.